It's just you either have 100% cloud coverage or zero, I guess.
Fog.
It's just fog on the entire world.
Well,
Pacific Northwest simulator, it's fine.
Hey folks, welcome back to the feature group. So today we're going to be taking O1 and Claude and putting them head to head. So they've both had a few updates and we want to go back to our regularly scheduled programming where we actually try out these models and see where they're performing and how they're doing. So anything else to add, boys?
We'll give it some coding tasks, some reasoning tasks. I'm excited to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's
Give
go.
it a shot.
Okay, so here we are loaded into both ChatGPT and Claude. ChatGPT is on the left, and we've selected the O1 reasoning model, and we're going to be comparing it to the latest version of Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which, I mean, there have been hundreds of versions. This one's supposed to be really good as well. So our first test is going to be a coding test plug for our original O1 test videos. You can see how it did there. We're going to run it again here. And the challenge is to make a procedurally generated planet.
Yeah.
We have a super long prompt because the models are getting so good that most top-of-the-line models can do a simple procedurally generated planet. So we have this long prompt with a bunch of requirements asking for clouds and planet rotation, water, lighting. And the real test here is not to see if it can implement something with Three.js. We know both of the models can do this. It's to see how far they can get through a really complicated set of requirements in one shot. So I'll kick them both off. Wait!
O1 just thought for 1 second.
Thought for 1 second.
Reference implementation. If you ever optimize, interesting. And then, I mean, to show O1 is still generating as well.
Mm-hmm.
Press X to doubt. 1 second's fast for this. We'll see.
We've seen O1 think much longer on this type of problem.
And to know, I mean, without knowing the internals, we do.
Whoa!
Claude already showing it off. I didn't know
Okay,
they-
Claude.
Okay, I've not seen this before. I didn't know they actually
So this is
rendered.
Canvas. This is their Canvas.
This is their canvas. Okay. Interesting. And then it says there's a publish button as well, and you can download, I guess, the code. Is that what it's doing?
That's pretty cool.
So this is pretty impressive.
I mean, the fact that it did it, it's missed the clouds. It does look like all the sliders work. Can we go terrain height? So it did get that. Rotation speed. So
And there's
pick that
some
up
there's some
and
smoothing, it seems like, almost.
smoothing, reset camera, and then can we do the... Nah, unfortunately, it looks like we can't manually do it.
The atmosphere's
See.
weird for sure. It's kind of got this like equator,
Yes.
this vertical equator that it's trying to shine on
Well-
one side. The light's not moving, but that's okay.
Credit to Claude, and it looks like you can also see the code at the back.
Pretty lightweight.
Here we go. We had some issues with JS Fiddle, so we've gone ahead and took what O1 made, and it is allegedly a blank page right now. Similar to what we had from Claude. It looks like they both did roughly the same thing with the terrain and the biome. So they're actually picking up on all the list of requirements, and it looks like they both tried to put sliders, but to give credit where credit's due, Claude actually did do it in one shot.
Yeah, but
It's probably like a
it's
library
the same
thing.
same
Yeah.
thing.
So what we've seen previously is that O1 will sometimes have like a wrong reference. However, Claude did do better in the first shot, so we'll probably see if we can fix up the O1 variant really quick, and then we'll maybe give them a few follow-up questions to see if they're able to like reason over the code that they generated.
Okay, so as ever on the first run with O1, which was trained, I think, over 6 months ago at this point, there have been some changes to the Three.js library, and it seems like Anthropic's actually a little better at keeping up with those. So we were able to tell it the version of the CDN to use, and now we can see what its actual attempt is. So to compare the two, we see sort of the same sort of Perlin noise, lumpy planet idea going on both. And then it seems like they actually were able to successfully implement some different features. Like, I'm not really sure what's going on the water on the left. The atmosphere wasn't even really attempted. And when I try to change, it's changing the lighting. So the atmosphere was a struggle for both. I might give the atmosphere win to Claude on this one. If we play around with biome thresholds, I'm trying to see. It does actually look like there are some different biomes, right? You can see different coloring along the coast. You can see different greens on different parts of the planet. So that looks like sort of the biome boundary. I'm not seeing biome on Claude's version. Rotation speed, obviously, they both got that. So it is interesting. I mean, the one place I want to give O1 credit here is that even though the water is there's like some visual glitching going on, you can actually see that there's depth and you can see through the water, right? Whereas it looks like on Claude's attempt that the planet is actually just one mesh, which has been colored.
Yep.
Yep. It's also worth calling out the lighting is better on O1. O1 has the lighting being outside of the sphere, lighting it.
Yeah.
Whereas Claude seems to be emitting the light, right? Because as the planet rotates, the light goes with it. And if it's from the sun or from a star somewhere, you'd expect that the light's kind of staying where it is. It's lighting the side of the planet that's facing it.
They both seem to have struggle with atmosphere and water, so let's ask both to try to fix both of those things.
Okay.
Give them screenshots of their current state and see how well they're able to iterate on the problem.
Absolutely.
I think, and before we move on, is there anything you guys are we ready to declare a winner on the first shot here, or is it like some of them better at some things?
Well, I mean, the fact that Claude was a little bit more up to date with its CDM, the fact that it works in one shot, I think for most people would be more impressive, right? Like we had to do some fiddling around, and we needed to know the technicals for how to fix O1, and that's not necessarily an OpenAI problem. It's a problem with all these tools, but to be fair, most people would be more impressed to get something working than have something that it looks like O1's slightly better, but we did have to tweak it. So maybe in the first shot, kind of got to give it to Claude.
I agree. Also, just a design perspective, Claude has a better way of approaching this here, right? Hey, we're going to pop it up to you internally. You don't have to go OpenJS Fiddle. You don't have to go to Visual Studio Code. So as a package, better.
However, there is something to be said about the depth, right? If we continue iterating and O1's getting better, then maybe this is a toy example, right? We've given it one big shot, and you actually might want the intelligence of O1 to come through more. So I guess let's see. You're saying you're contrarian?
I was gonna be the contrarian and say that like the O1 version seems to have built up a more successful thing here. Like the biomes actually having water didn't quite get to the atmosphere. Like I think I would rather, if I was going to now take one of these and try to make it into something good, I'd rather start with the O1 version.
Totally.
Got it. Yep.
And I mean, let's see how it goes with the next shot, because that would be interesting, right? The fact that it's built this up, does it go further with the next shot? And then suddenly it's like, well, there you go. You might need the actual intelligence, even if it's not as packaged well. And there's something to be said that the intelligence is what we get promised with AI. So that's kind of what we should be biasing towards.
Yep, that's true.
Cool. Let's do it.
Awesome. So we've taken screenshots of both of the first attempts, and then we've given some follow-up prompts. We're asking both of them to kind of fix up what's going on with the atmosphere and the water, and also, if possible, add clouds. This is a big, this is a tough request, so we're hoping to see some impressive stuff from at least one of the models. Yes, good.
Interesting.
Good.
So, I mean, the first thing we're already seeing is O1's thinking quite hard about this, and intuitively, this actually makes sense. Because the request, even though small, is actually hard. Like you now need to understand what you're looking at and understand how to make the changes, whereas Claude's kind of dived into it. So it actually think about it for 25 seconds, which is quite impressive for like O1. We typically can't get it to think that long. Previously in our O1 Pro videos, you could see it go for like 3 minutes, and go check those out. But that's great, the fact that it actually seemed to think about it.
Ooh.
And what just happened on the right?
Claude, tried to go too fast, and seems it kind of blew up everything. It does seem to be rotating. Maybe we can play around with the sliders.
Let's play around. Let's see.
Maybe the terrain is too low.
I think it just broke it.
It's definitely rotating, because you can see the whatever light source.
You can see a slightly better attempt at atmosphere here.
Yeah.
Like drag the intensity of the atmosphere down? Maybe that helps? I don't know.
I'll turn it up or down.
No?
Okay, so atmosphere intensity really...
There's maybe... And then cloud cover. Can you turn that up? Completely covers.
Maximum cloud coverage.
It's just, you either have 100% cloud coverage or 0, I guess.
Fog.
It's just fog on the entire world.
Well,
Pacific Northwest simulator, it's fine.
But it is interesting to see this, like the way that it implemented the atmosphere. Maybe later I'll actually look and see what it did. It looks like it's rendering a stripe of brighter
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not sure, but it is also. I think we should note that like, yeah, we already gave it a pretty hard prompt. It worked through something pretty difficult, and then we asked it for even more, and then this is where Claude's starting to fall apart a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So. One of the things that we've noticed in the O series of models is its ability to handle a lot of context,
Yep.
work through these hard problems, and then output really long, coherent files. So we saw 25 seconds of thinking, and now we have a response from O1, so let's see how it did.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it still has the weird kind of buggy issue. It certainly tried to do like underneath. I can see it's like done some other kind of. Well, I mean, the zoom's kind of impressive.
Is that the atmosphere?
I don't know. Turn up the atmosphere from 0.4 to like 1.
It's hard because it doesn't stop my dragging. It isn't. I mean, it was able to maintain the working planet though, right? Which
Yeah.
is great. So biome threshold. You can see as I drag that, it's changing the biomes,
Yeah.
right? So like, I guess we're kind of pushing at the things that neither model can really do successfully with some of this atmosphere, which are really hard problems, right? There are a whole YouTube series about how to do this.
Yeah.
So we're not judging them too much. I think my takeaway here is that we're seeing O1, even though it didn't fix the atmosphere problem,
Yeah.
like it kept a working thing, right? It implemented more of the original requirements. There wasn't even an attempt at biomes on the right.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to declare O1 the winner here, even though there were some impressive elements of Claude's performance, especially on the first shot.
Yeah. And as we're talking, it's like you can almost see that Claude is maybe biasing towards being better tech demo, right? Like even I noticed that like with the canvas, you might be able to switch between version 1 and 2, and they've thought about how you can like show code and stuff in their browser. But again, like we were saying, real intelligence from the models is what you're going to need to push forward. So OpenAI might be like, hey, like, okay, yeah, we can't render the code, and they do have Canvas, of course, but thinking more about how these models think, and we saw it go off for 20 seconds and actually take in all the information. That seems a lot more useful for any like non-trivial problem. So it does seem like O1 has the kind of the victory here in terms of being able to process this and actually do something useful, not just I did it, and then you actually try and work with it, and you can't do anything.
And if you want to see the upper bound of what these models can do, look at our O1 Pro mode video where we gave it the same prompt, and it did actually attempt the clouds, and it did have non-staticky water. So like we're really getting there on some of these hard problems that like we always talk about world understanding. This is a different level of world understanding where you can actually build a world, right? So super impressive on both counts, I think. So, impressive performance on the coding. I know there's going to be debates in the comments about which one is the better coding model, but I think the key takeaway is that progress is happening, and they're both way better. If you can look at our old tests, they're both way better than their predecessors were, their direct predecessors even 3 months ago. So, now, once you have good coding models, you still need to be able to get them to go out and solve real-world problems. And so one of the, maybe even the most important type of reasoning in these sorts of situations is, can a model reason agentically? Can it take a goal, understand its world state, and work through a problem until it has some desired result? And one of the best tests for this, something we've been using on the channel, is called the Tower of London. We can super quickly explain it. This is our like sort of simple representation for the Tower of London setup. You have pegs, which are labeled with the letters, and then you have these sort of discs that are the colored pills, and they sit on the pegs, and there's a starting state, and then there's a goal state, and you need to move the pegs one by one to get them into the goal state. Obviously, that green peg can't move until the red peg gets off the top of it, and so you need to understand those rules, those interactions, and so make legal moves, and then that string of legal moves needs to end up with this goal configuration. It looks like a simple test, but you can go back and watch our previous videos, and models until very recently, without giving any spoilers here, models until very recently struggled with this a lot. They struggled to even understand the rules of the problem, even though the rules, not the specific instance, but the rules are in training data. So they could restate the rules, but then actually putting those rules into practice would fall apart immediately. Now it's a little bit of a different world, so we can run this test and see how well they do. If they both do well at this small version, we can give them a harder version and see how they're able to cope with that.
Yep.
So we have a long prompt written out that we're going to send them both the image of the starting state and the goal state, and then we also have a long prompt written out that describes that in text and the rules, just to make sure that they all have sort of equal footing going into it. All right, so we're all set to go, and we'll send them off. Claude immediately starts writing a response. So let's work through what Claude did here. Okay. So we can keep track on this freeform board so you guys have a visual to see what we're doing. Let's make sure it understood the starting configuration. Peg A empty, green bottom, red top, and blue. It got that right in the goal configuration. Green bottom, blue top with red in the middle. That's correct. Mm-hmm. So when we go on to trying to solve it, it says that the first move is to move blue from peg C to A.
Interesting.
That's an interesting first move. Move red from B to C.
Mm-hmm.
Move green from B to A.
Okay.
Move red from C to B.
That's what's written. Move blue from pig A to pig A on top of green.
Okay, so this is what we were talking about, right? Yeah. With and it seems like non-reasoning models. I've yet to see a non-reasoning model correctly understand the rules, and even in a simple case, make correct moves. Just for comparison, let's go see what O1 did before we are too mean to Claude here. Yep. All right. It says it has a concise 4-move solution, so let's check its work. This is O1. So the first move is to move red from B to C on top of blue.
Okay.
Then it wants to move green from B to A.
Yes.
Then move red from C to V.
Correct. And then
blue from C to A. Wow. So correct. It was right. There is a 4-move version, and we kind of took Claude's 5 moves at face value.
We thought it was going to be 5, but now that's clearly it.
So in terms of, I am confident saying that in terms of agentic reasoning, the reasoning models like the O series is kind of a step change.
Honestly, architecture might actually be everything. There've been papers and people talking about this, but this step change certainly seems like there has been that architecture change which allows for this. You can know the rules of chess, but then actually playing chess is a different thing, right? You have so much more to keep in mental state. And the same goes for these models, right? It can regurgitate the Tower of London test, and it can know you move pigs and stuff. But then when it went to go do it, in Claude's case, it was gets all the way there, then it's oopsies, let me just do this, and it disregards parts of it. Whereas these reasoning models seem to be so much better at sticking to it, and it says it thought for 21 seconds. And that makes sense. It probably says if I do this, it stops me from doing another thing.
I think an important point is that it's not. What we showed here was a very simple case of the Tower of London problem, and there's a chance that this case, because it's so simple, happens to be in training data somewhere. But you can go check out our O1 Pro video where we gave it, it was passing with flying colors on the simple cases, so we added pegs, added disks. It was like a 10-move solution, something that certainly was not in the training data, and it was able to reason through that, figure it out, stay consistent. And so O1 is a great reasoner, O1 Pro a little bit extra, but in this domain, which is by some counts the most important domain, it's a clear winner, in my opinion, over Claude. And Anthropic really needs to get their reasoning model out there.
Absolutely. I think it is the year of the reasoners, the year of the agents. It's going to be very interesting to see how Claude responds. But again, to be fair, the progress that Claude has shown, in this latest model, is still quite impressive. This is still the latest model that they've put out, right? 3.1 Sonnet? 3.5? Or is it another Pro variant?
It's hard to say. It's honestly hard to say with them. They're constantly making changes to their models. They haven't changed the name of their models in a long time. Then there was I think there's a slightly larger version of Sonnet, but I don't think it's as up to date as the current version of Sonnet. So it's hard to say. This is a good model from Anthropic and couldn't quite keep up. This is the main model that Anthropic users use, right?
Well, this is hopefully kind of like for like, right? We don't want to do O1 Pro feels a little bit unfair, because it, way more expensive in terms of cogs and stuff. But yeah, I guess it does show again the architecture change. Having a reasoning model does seem to translate to better performance in these areas. To be fair, Claude was faster for first token, but again, does that matter much if the answer is wrong? There might be some cases where you decide, hey, I just need it to summarize, and you just want it to be snappy and pretty good, and that's what we might see in the future. Different routing, right? You have reasoning models does something like this, but then it offloads to say like another model to then write out something or do something that's like a little bit more token or cost efficient.
Well, I think in the far future, it seems like the direction is towards there's a parameter on the O1 API about like thinking time, right? So if you have a version of O1 that can handle a lot of the things that a GPT series model, like a sort of normal transformer model, chat model, can handle, then you can start just saying, all right, we'll pass in a thinking time of 0 for easy problems, right? I think that is where this is going, but it's hard to say how long it'll take to get to that point. Because so much has been built into the chat series, right? Like, ability to understand and generate JSON, like ability to call functions. Like, you need to get the reasoners up to spec, and until you can do that, then what Dylan is saying is true. You need to route.
Quite a clear difference here. Again, props to Claude, not entirely like putting them out, but O1 really did kind of show how much further it's gotten. So impressive stuff.
Obviously, we're pretty big fans of the O1 series of model, even though O1 preview was a letdown at first. Like way redeemed itself. But this is not a knock against Anthropic. I think they have a great model. It was able to keep up with the reasoning model on that coding task for the most part, and so. The first leg, coding and actually writing the code, across the board, pretty good. And then actually, how do we turn this into some like super capable agentic system? It seems like OpenAI is pushing a little harder there, and excited to see what Anthropic, because it's not going to be long before they enter that race as well. When they do, we'll definitely put out a video. We'll definitely test it. And in the meantime, definitely let us know if you want to see other tests. We know DeepSeek is out there. We know there's a new like reasoning tuned SLM from Microsoft that we could also try to compare to like maybe O1 Mini. So we've got a lot of ideas, a lot of things to try. Let us know what you want to see in the comments. Give us a like, a subscribe if you want to stick around with us. It really helps the channel grow. Dylan, anything to add?
Nothing.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Catch you next time.